The vessel Standby is assisting a tanker at Tordenskjold's SPBM. Weather conditions are good, but there are sizable swells that day. After breakfast, Standby receives a message from the tanker that one of the lifting cables on the loading pipe has snapped and they require assistance to make the repair. The captain on standby decides to use a mob boat with a crew of 4 to replace the damaged portion of the lifting cable. The crew on the mob boat repairs the cable by first disconnecting one end of the lifting cable from the chain while the other end remains attached to the loading pipe. To hold on to the end of the lifting cable and the loading pipe, they fasten it to the mob boat with a hawser. Large swells make working conditions dangerous, and the crew on the mob boat decides to stop the repair work. The alarm sounds. The man overboard alarm goes off. What has gone wrong? Let's take a look at the incident to see what went wrong. Mob boats shall not be used for this type of operation. They shall only be used during training or for real rescue operations. Before they stop the repair work, they want to disconnect the new cable they just fastened to the end of the hawser. To reach the bolt the cable is attached to, they need to slacken the mooring hawser. Since the damaged cable on the loading pipe is fastened to the mob boat, the slack mooring hawser pulls the mob boat down. The forces now pulling the mob boat down, combined with the swells, capsize the boat and the crew is thrown overboard. What should have been done in advance of this incident? What routines do you have when personnel use a mob boat or lifeboat? Do you follow these routines? Discuss these questions before you go on. In order to keep similar incidents from happening again, we are going to take a closer look at the underlying conditions revealed by the investigation into this incident. Using the mob boat for this type of operation is only one of several breaches of safety regulations and poor risk assessments. Unfortunately, it seems like everyone who is directly involved practices poor leadership and that essential procedures are lacking for this situation. An adequate risk assessment was not conducted before giving the green light to the operation and lowering the mob boat. The captain of the tanker should also have informed the platform manager about the need for assistance to repair the lifting cable. The captain of standby should have informed both the platform and the tanker about the plans for the repairs. The captain of standby should also have discussed the use of the mob boat with everyone involved and received eventual final approval from the platform manager before initiating the repair work. The platform manager on Tordenskjold should have taken initiative for both a risk assessment and approval for initiating the repair work. By conducting a joint risk assessment, important information and experiences could have been shared. Since there is no joint risk assessment of the operation, no one manages to foresee that the hawser fastened to the lifeboat and the damaged lifting cable will pull the mob boat down. None of those involved do anything when routines are clearly broken or lacking. Here, there are several actors who don't collaborate, but rather just get to work to save time. Could such a situation have developed where you work, where several people are involved, and where one person initiates work before a joint risk assessment is conducted? Answer the question by clicking yes or no and discuss the next questions before moving on. What should you do to improve communication? Who is responsible for coordinating this kind of operation? Without an adequate risk assessment, no one considered the need for emergency preparedness for this special operation. So it takes a full 13 minutes from when the boat capsizes to when the crew is picked out of the sea. Despite the lack of a risk assessment and poor leadership, things fortunately worked out all right this time. If conditions had been different, this incident could have been extremely serious. If the crew had got stuck in or hit by equipment in the water when the mob boat capsized, lives could have been lost. Do you take safety seriously for minor operations as well? Do you always conduct a safe job analysis or pre-job discussion before starting a job? Do you have sufficient training in risk assessments? Discuss these questions before you finish. Our work is never so important or so urgent that we don't have time to do it safely.